Hey guys, John Rettinger here with a review for you of the Motorola Droid. For those of you that follow the channel, you'll know we've put it through a series of tests. I've compared it with the iPhone, I've done browser speed, I've compared it with the Storm 2, I've gone over the feature set, and I've shown you the turn-by-turn navigation. But now for the review, I'm going to get down and dirty and talk to you about the phone as a whole and how all those little bits and pieces come together to, well, either give a positive or negative experience. So first and foremost, the Droid is a phone. Despite the marketing hype, it's got to make good phone calls. It's not just for internet and all the other things that the Droid does. It's got to make quality phone calls, and I'm happy to report that it does. Whether that's attributed to Motorola's hardware or Verizon's network, I'm not quite sure. The radio in here is very strong. I was able to get 5 bars of Verizon's 3G signal, whereas on the Storm 2 I was only able to get 3 or 4. So quite strong, and you should be able to get pretty good reception anywhere you go. Call quality was fantastic. People reported no white noise on their end, and it sounded almost landline-like on my end. Speakerphone was quite loud, which I attribute to a very large speaker in the back. One of the louder speakerphones I've heard, probably second only to the AT&T Tilt 2. So the speakerphone's important to you. You're going to really enjoy the Motorola Droid. So all the phone stuff aside, it makes good phone calls. How does everything else come together? This is a very hyped device, and there's a lot of interest behind it, so let's talk about it. First, I am extremely impressed with Motorola's design team. The fact that they got a phone with a 3.7-inch screen and a full QWERTY keyboard to be that thin is amazing. It's starting to make other devices which used to look thin look downright fat. I'm looking at you, iPhone. One of the things that I really like about the screen is obviously that it's capacitive. It's very bright, it's responsive, and it works well. I'm a big fan of the capacitive navigation buttons on the bottom, although it did take some getting used to. There's some haptic feedback, which means when you touch it, they vibrate, but they do work quite well. And they're your standard array of Droid buttons, Android buttons rather, your back button, your menu button, your home button, and you even have a search button. So if you're worried about how those would work without being actual buttons to push, don't be concerned. So one of the downsides is 5-megapixel camera. Motorola was claiming it's capable of shooting full DVD quality video, which let me tell you, it is not. I did a sample of a video where I showed you my cat. You can see the video quality was not fantastic. Things like, say, the HTC Hero or even the Droid Ares for Verizon have the same sort of camera sensor, but take much better video. So perhaps that'll be fixed with a firmware upgrade. The picture quality in the video is average, not as good as Motorola is claiming. Just wanted to give you a heads up. Browser-wise, this is fantastic. This is the closest browser I have seen to matching mobile Safari on the iPhone, which I've got on the record as saying I think is the best mobile browser. This is a really close second. It renders pages in natural, true HTML. It looks like you'd see on your desktop computer. The only thing I think it was missing that I really got accustomed to was multi-touch. But I'm able to forgive that completely because this phone renders pages quickly and does a fantastic job. You can tap to zoom, and you can zoom in or out using the navigation, the magnifying plus or minus. It works very well, and of course you have an accelerometer, so when you turn it, it'll rotate, and you can view the pages that way as well. One of the tests that I always run is how quick scrolling is. On a lot of devices, if you're viewing a pretty intensive web page, and you scroll through real quickly, you'll see sort of a checkerboard pattern on the bottom as the processor is sort of struggling to load what's coming below it. I did not have that problem with the Droid. It always loaded what I wanted to, and loaded very quickly, which is a fantastic benefit to the device because it does do a lot. So let's talk about Android 2.0, which of course is the operating system that's running the Motorola Droid. It's unskinned. What that means is it doesn't have sort of a layer on top of it, like the Sense UI that you see with the HTC Hero and the Droid Ares, or even TouchFlow 3D like you see on HTC devices that are running Windows Mobile. This is running Android 2.0 as Google created it. And Android 2.0 really brings Android into its own. I think it was always sort of a fun project and was never really up to snuff with some of the other mobile platforms. 2.0 really brings it up to par with the rest, if not above them. It's easy to use. It's relatively easy to navigate. I think it's intuitive. The widget functionality is great. The home screen, the fact that you can have 3 of them and customize them any way you want, is really fantastic. And as an extra bonus, the fact that you now get free turn-by-turn directions with Google Maps navigation, which is still in beta, is great. Granted, the lady's voice is super robotic, but it works really well, and to have a free navigation option is really nice. You know, cell companies love to charge you a few extra bucks for the telenav service, whether it's Verizon, Maps or AT&T Navigator, Sprint Navigator, whatever it is, they'd love to charge a few extra bucks, and well, Google's essentially saying no. And I give Verizon credit for letting Motorola and Google put this on the device and let it be used. Certainly it's taking money out of their pockets, but it's increasing the user experience. So I'm very happy that they allowed them to do that. So guys, in conclusion, I've broken down everything about the device in previous videos. This is probably the single best device in Verizon stable. If you're a Verizon user, I would have no reservations about recommending this to you. One of the big downsides that I do want to bring up, though, is the full QWERTY keyboard. And I've talked about this in previous videos. Not sure why, but the Motorola engineers decided to put a full, very large, nicely functioning D-pad next to the keyboard, which makes the keys a little bit smaller. And if you can see right there, there's no doming on the keys at all. They almost feel like a flat surface. I've had a very hard time getting used to the keyboard. I've been using this phone for about 2 weeks, so it's been a very hard adjustment process. Now, I'm not saying you won't get used to it. It just takes time and it's not as accurate as you would like. I actually found myself using the on-screen keyboard more than I was using the physical keyboard. So one little downside is the full QWERTY board, not the best. But in a sea of positives, a few little negatives are not going to detract from the device. I think it's an absolutely fantastic phone. Probably the best phone I've seen since the iPhone. I think it rivals the iPhone, which is certainly what it's being compared to, obviously in commercials, in terms of quality, OS, features. In fact, it's even more open. I'd even say that this could possibly even be better than the iPhone. It is a fantastic device, one that I can wholeheartedly recommend. And this is only the second phone on a 1 to 5 star scale that I have given a full 5 stars. Can't recommend this phone enough. If you had any reservations about the Droid, don't. Check out your Verizon store and get a chance to use the device. I really think you're going to like it. I certainly know I do. If I was a Verizon user, I would be using this as my daily driver. It would be in my pocket all the time. So guys, hope you enjoyed. For exclusive content, check me out at Twitter, twitter.com/John4Lakers. And if you want all your tech news, check out technobuffalo.com, where you can create your own sublog and monetize it and make your own money and interact with other users in our built-in social network. And of course, the URL for that is technobuffalo.com. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.